Oh my goodness.
And then, and I think if you pin it over here, oh, you have to hit this PM. Oh, flip it back. There we go. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, not too bad. All right.
Well,
Let's get started.
And
I want to start by just recalling a little bit of personal history. So on July 1st, 2018, I began my appointment as your 58th pastor. It has been an absolute pleasure being your pastor for the past 5 years. It's really hard to believe that it has been 5 years at this point. But that being said, it hasn't always been easy. Avery was just 2 weeks old when we moved to Franklin. Our family of 6 moved into a freshly updated 2-bedroom parsonage. And while we were immensely grateful for the thoughtful care that went into getting the condo ready, and it was a lot of work, it was simply too small. The 3 older girls shared a bedroom, and Avery, in the beginning, slept in the master closet. In the spring of 2019, the decision was made to sell the condo and move to a housing allowance model for providing clergy housing. And it is a decision that has allowed Chandra and I to purchase a home in Franklin and begin to dig deep roots in this community. And for that, we are immensely grateful. Franklin is very much home to us. And that cannot be understated. That cannot be understated given that since having kids, our family has lived in 5 homes in 3 different states. We are wholly invested in this community. It is our home, and we absolutely love it here. Over the last 5 years, we have made some really tough decisions to keep the church moving forward as we weathered the COVID-19 pandemic and are now challenged by high inflation and economic uncertainty. We are in the midst of a massive shift in church culture. People interact with the church and participate in the life of the church in very different ways than they did just 5 years ago. Just a few examples. Our average in the sanctuary worship attendance each week is approximately 30 persons. This is about 60% of our pre-COVID average weekly worship. However, in addition to our in the sanctuary worshipers, we have additional worshipers in person via Google Meet and dozens more streaming the service via YouTube during the week. In total, our average weekly worship attendance is equivalent to our pre-COVID numbers, even though our sanctuary numbers are low. It's just spread out across multiple platforms and times. And that does not even include all of those who interact with the weekly reflections via social media. We are engaging more people in worship now than we were 5 years ago. That is a fact. We have also seen an increased number of persons financially supporting the church. Our most recent pledge campaign saw the highest number of pledging units in recent history and our second highest amount pledged in recent history. The major shift that has occurred is unlike years past when pledges were received weekly. Most of our current pledgers give less frequently and most often annually. Nonetheless, they are faithful contributors to the financial security of the church. Every generation has its challenges. It's important to note that while the challenges we face are unique to our time, the fact that we are a generation faced with challenges is nothing new. In the 180 years of Methodism in Franklin, our spiritual forebears here have had to deal, and this is pretty close to a timeline answer to this question, have had to deal with declining participation, reneged plans to purchase a building, foreclosure, the flu epidemic, the Great Depression, multiple world wars, a transition from full-time to part-time and back to full-time clergy. It has been dragged into a heresy trial and had to deal with the very gifts, skills, and quirks of over 50 different clergy persons, including the one standing before you. Every generation has its challenges, and yet every generation is called, in the words of the psalmist, to extol God's work to another generation and declare God's mighty acts. Every generation, in spite of its challenges, is called to share about God's steadfast love and mercy with the next generation. As such, in the words of Reverend Robert Durkee, the 41st pastor of Franklin Methodists, every generation is the heir to those who've gone on before them. And so too, every generation in some way determines the lives of those who come after them. Like a falling domino train, each generation impacts the next, hopefully propelling it forward and empowering it to move the next generation too. We are fruit of... I sometimes mention in my sermons that sometimes thoughts come to my head and I'm like, man, I thought that. Next sentence is one of them things. Sorry, I had to stop. Get ready to be loud. We are the fruit of our forebears and the seed of future generations. We are We are the fruit of our forebears and the seed of future generations. The Pew Research Center defines a generation as typically a group of people born over a 15 to 20 year span who have all lived through similar events in history and popular culture. Don't worry, we're not going to try and figure out what generation each of us is in, but each of us are in one. Over the last 3 years, we have gone through a pandemic which has forced us to adapt in ways we knew were going to have to happen, but we're hoping to stave off for as long as possible. We've seen massive shifts in popular culture and the church, which I believe these shifts will define not only a new generation broadly speaking, but also a new generation of Christians. Our reality, and most of this, you know. Our reality is increasingly hybrid. This is a massive shift that I don't think is going to go away, especially in the church. The hybrid environment allows an equity of participation that the church has never experienced before, allowing those who otherwise cannot physically come to a building to actively participate with those who are physically in the room. Our reality is largely on demand. Who watches regular TV anymore? Some of you might, but you're a shrinking number. Our schedules are sporadic. We get to things when we can. In the church, this has led to fewer weekly participants, but more on-demand participation through social media and streaming platforms. This will mean that our gatherings will most likely remain relatively small, but reach farther than they ever did before. Our reality is less geographically centered. Our hybrid and on-demand realities mean that we are less anchored to specific places, but that doesn't mean, and hear me very carefully, that does not mean that place is irrelevant. Buildings still matter. However, the role they now play is different. Church buildings are no longer simply places where Christians gather for worship and Sunday school. They are now backdrops, quite literally and metaphorically, for a larger narrative of God's outreaching love to the community and world. They function as a hub of community outreach and service, providing a place both physical and virtual for people to connect with one another and even connect with God, if in an indirect way. Our reality has changed drastically over the last few years, but this one thing remains true, and it will remain true for every generation that will come after us, and it is true for every generation that has come before. People yearn for connection. Human beings find life in and through community. We find meaning through our relationships. The church is called to be a place where life-giving relationships are forged and fostered. I think our vision statement, adopted in October of 2021, speaks quite eloquently about our need to foster this type of relationship, not only with God, but also with one another. It states, "We seek to be a community where all can experience meaningful relationship with God, grow in Christ, and reach out in love to others. A community where all can love and be loved and accepted as you are." This vision propels us forward as we seek to expand our witness in the community and share the love of God found in Jesus Christ. The question that's before us, and the question we need to seriously ask, is does our facility, as it is right now, help us live into that vision given our present reality? In May of 2022, the Resource Committee did a walkthrough of the building. We opened every closet and went in every space in the facility. And we started listing what we saw based on the way the building was being used. I'm going to actually give you the notes of that walkthrough after my presentation this morning. The list was long. So rather than recount them all, in short, the building needs a lot of work. And it creates several challenges, and I want to list some of the bigger ones. The roof needs to be replaced, and the exterior of the building is decaying rapidly. The balcony and the basement are underutilized spaces due to accessibility constraints. When we did that facility walkthrough, some people had never been in the balcony or in the basement because they largely cannot be used because of accessibility issues. The HVAC system does not condition air, nor does it circulate fresh air through the entirety of the building. This is causing massive issues, especially in our basement, with water stains and even mold. The kitchen, the vestry, the room which we're sitting in, and the bathrooms all need to be updated. And in addition to these facility needs, there are few legacy funds available for the perpetual funding of ministry and capital improvements. In other words, we don't have a large endowment to help pay for these or any capital improvements. So I want to pause for just a moment and say that dealing with delayed maintenance and capital improvements has been a challenge for every generation of Franklin Methodist. And I want to paint with some really broad brushstrokes. For those of you that have history with the church, you're going to know that I left some things out. I left some things out. But I just want to give you a broad history of the facility real quick. Land was purchased and the building constructed in the early 1870s. It is a story I wish we knew more about. The building, from the purchase of the land to the dedication of the entire building, was a year. Even on a modern timeline, that would be fast. In the early 1900s, the stained glass windows and pipe organ, which are still in the sanctuary, were installed. In the early 1930s, an addition was added to the building, which included the kitchen and classrooms, which we currently use for offices. It's all the plate glass windows that are in front of me, behind you, and the kitchen. In the 1950s, there was a major capital campaign to renovate the basement, to put new flooring in the sanctuary, new pew cushions, interior and exterior paint, and other projects. And what's most notable about that capital campaign is that they paid for all those repairs in cash. They didn't start a single project until all the money had been raised. In the mid-1980s, major repairs were made to the organ and the building exterior, among other projects. In the 90s, there was another major renovation of the basement. The roof was replaced, the stained glass windows were restored, exterior walls were stabilized. Some of you were around for that. It must have been scary. And a handicap ramp and accessible restroom were installed here on the main level. In the mid-2000s, the sanctuary was renovated, including new pews and lighting, and it was also during this time that the cell tower was installed in the bell tower and in the balcony. Broadly speaking, painting with broad brushstrokes. Broadly speaking, no major infrastructure work has happened on the building in 30 years. And no major work has been done inside the building in 20 years. In essence, most of the areas renovated and restored during the last 3 capital campaigns need to be revisited. I took this sentence out, but it needs to be stated. It's not because they did shoddy work. They did excellent work. It's simply time to do it again. With the scope of work being so large, the Resource Committee recommended to the Church Council that we hire an architect to think through some of the major challenges of our facility. Namely, accessibility across all levels of the building, bathrooms, and better utilization of the balcony in the basement. The goal in hiring an architect was to come up with a design that could guide all of our restoration work, especially as we begin to tick off the very long list of capital improvements that need to happen. The preliminary facility design for each level is also going to be in the packet that you get at the end of this presentation. Suffice it to say, our facility needs work. It needs restoration work, and it needs to be renovated so that it is more fully accessible. I truly believe that our commitment to addressing the many needs of our facility will not only define our generation, it will also impact the many generation of Franklin Methodists yet to be. So how can we begin to address our facility needs? This is probably what most of you were really wanting me to get to. Can you get to this about 10 minutes ago? So here it is. The projected total cost of completing all of the renovations and restorations that we've been able to name is $1.7 million. Now the good news is that some of that work has already been done. We have an initial architectural design. We've also installed a new high-efficiency boiler. These things were all on that list. We also have several projects in progress. We have a small legacy endowment that was established in 1992. It currently has a balance of roughly $31,500. The roof is going to be replaced and paid for through an insurance claim. Actually, we received a check today. Wow. We have estimates coming in for the restoration of the sanctuary ceiling. There are several decisions yet to be made regarding both the ceiling and the roof. And the two major questions are these. One, will we restore the dormers or take the remaining ones out, which would impact the roof and the ceiling? And will we add stenciling to the ceiling? This is an homage to a detail that once existed in the sanctuary but has been lost over time. Will we do that? Will we add the stenciling? Or will we simply paint the ceiling white like it is right now? Now the good news on both are all those are those two kind of hanging projects is that most of the funding for those two remaining projects has been secured. Some things have been done and other things are in progress. In order to address the remaining issues of our facility, we will need to raise roughly $1.5 million. Side note. When the architect and I went through the number, which was late this week, he came in on the wire. When the architect was going through the number with me this week, he said something that I think is important for us to realize. And that's that $1.5 million may sound like a lot of money. And in many ways it is. It is. But once we do this work, our facility would be basically new. And to put in some amount of perspective, to build a brand new 3,000 square foot house, this comes from the architect. This is not me pulling a number out of thin air. To build a brand new 3,000 square foot house, of which this building is over twice that size, is $1 million in our area. It is a lot of money. But there is an immense amount of bang for one's buck in the projects that we are considering doing. I fully believe that now is our time to rise to the challenge of our day. Now is our opportunity to honor the sacrifice of our spiritual forebears by rededicating ourselves to the cause, so that our facility might continue to be a place where new generations can learn to love God, love neighbor, and be the church. So what are some of the next steps? This time, I want to reintroduce Tom Melzoni. He is the Senior Vice President of Horizon Stewardship. He's going to help lead us through a feasibility study. That is the first next step. He's going to describe that process, not me. The most important thing, and the last thing that I want to mention, the most important thing that we have to do is to simply be the church. Love God, love neighbor, and reach out to a new generation. I fully believe that as we devote ourselves to that cause and that cause with all that we are, we will find that the work before us is way more achievable than we ever thought imaginable. So with that, I'm going to invite Tom to help kind of describe the process that will be followed.
Yeah, gotta get the coloring.
We're hanging in as best
And good morning, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me. I love being in New England. Obviously, you can tell I have a southern New England accent. But I do live in Sarasota, Florida. Moved there just a few years ago after spending most of my life in Ohio. But I come here often. A number of different wonderful churches that I've had the privilege of working with. I was just thinking as he was sharing those numbers, sharing the needs. About 12 years ago, I was at the Main Street United Methodist Church in Nashua. And they were faced with something very similar. Everything seemed overwhelming. People would breathe hard. We were in a setting almost similar to this, except that this was in their basement there. Well, I'm thrilled to tell you that about 3 years ago, they finished everything, and it's all paid for. So can it be done? Yes. Can it be done in New England? Yes. Can it be done amongst New England Methodists? Yes. Because Main Street said it could be. Not only did they say it to me, they did it. I was also at Sudbury United Methodist a number of years ago. We actually was at a meeting prior to this one. And one of the major needs they had was their parking lot because it was sinking. They were having potholes actually. And there was a little bit of humor going on about, well, one day one of those potholes is just going to swallow a car. Amazing. During the meeting, a car fell in. So they went through the same journey, a lot of same emotions, but the parking lot's fixed. And the buildings are updated. So we have to start. And so what we're going to be doing is certainly we're here today just to say, hello, this is what you need to do. So you hear it all. So your pastor has been so good at this. This is what needs to be done. What I'm going to do is we're going to have some questions here in a minute for you to answer. Then we'll have a little question and answer time. Then in about a week, I will be setting up some interviews with some of you. I will say to you right now, if you want to spend about 20 minutes with me via Zoom in an interview, I have to let your pastor know. I'm opening it up to everyone. And we're going to be doing a survey for everyone. So those who are watching with us online, we'll be sending surveys to everyone we have names of, and we want your input. Because right now, we don't know what we don't know about how much we can raise. We know what your needs are, and we may have to work on prioritizing those. What's the most immediate need? What's the second immediate need? What does that look like from a funding perspective? So what we're doing right now is studying. We're attaching now to the building team and the architects that put all this beautiful plan together, and now we're going to study what's going to be the right sizing of it from a financial perspective, and how do we lay out priorities. Does that make sense? All right. So what I want you to do right now, stand up and stretch. If you need to go to the restroom, you can. If you need some more coffee, you can. I'm going to give you 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Now we can put those in the table if you want this to. I might as well put them all. Put all these on the table. And some pens. There's nobody here. Thank you, though. Person behind.
Oh, no, this is a new concentration. Yes. Mary. Oh, sorry. Got a good report there? Oh, no, I got Hey, you get yourself in trouble really quick. I said that too loud. Awesome. There it is.
I'm gonna give you about 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Hey! Show everybody with that name. You want orange juice and you want
That's right. Most everyone here.
We made progress.
Keaton's not here, she won't hold you.
All right, let's be gathering back to our tables. All right, your instructions. We have 3 questions that we're asking each table to answer. So someone has a set of these in front of them, this blank sheet of paper with the questions on top. And so I need a person at the table to become the, shall we say, the recording secretary or the scribe. And I want you to record the answers. So here's your assignment. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes per question. And I want someone to record all the answers. All right? Now look, okay, pay attention right here. Someone has some paper in front of them that looks like this. They're just blank, just one per table. Okay? Not one per person, one per table. You with me? Okay. It's one per table. It's not the big presentation page. These are blank. The presentation page is for you to take home. All right? This, we're recording your answers. So I'm asking you in just about 30 seconds, someone at your table to record all of your answers. You with me? Okay. So question number 1. Question number 1. What excites you about what you heard? What excites you about what you heard? I'm going to give you 4 minutes. Go.
Wow. I'm just writing a question right now. Yes. No, I think we just write it. What excites you about it? Yeah.
Nothing needing 1.5 million.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, this project.
It excites me that we can work on this building together. Makes it better for us. But also you know, it's something important. The building should be used.
We may not read much.
Hey, for those of you in the Google Meet, I got you off the side here, so I had to record your questions and answers to
2 more minutes on that question. 2 more minutes.
Claire, We're working on the site accessibility. The other people are gonna support our lives. We're not the only one. I think you want that there, we're good. Now, you're the only one going through it. Inviting them in here might be an idea. You know what I'm saying, like.
I guess mine would be the positive excitement and the possibility that we could do a lot.
Challenge, this is what we did, what we
All right, let's go to question number 2, which is what questions do we need to answer moving forward? As we emerge out of today, what questions are we going to need to answer? Some of these are your questions, but some of them may be questions you think others will ask. So let's record all those questions. What questions do we need to answer moving forward? Give you about 5 minutes on that one.
Tom, you're a record keeper here too.
Oh. Mine would be is how are you going to raise the necessary funds?
I suspect maybe several people's questions.
Well, especially since we're having trouble meeting our budget.
Yeah.
Look what they did in 2023. Now we have to fix that. So you're giving the next generation the seed that are probably let's give.
I will say, I know there are some maybe options for raising funds, mainly the complete self-evident through grants and whatnot. That we don't want to look.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be some triage. Like, on one hand, maybe it would be nice to set the ceiling, but watching cartoons might be best just not having a ceiling. That was just people.
At least they're in there. We know that it's getting warmer.
Beautiful presentation was great.
No, thank you.
But did you have online this morning, or did it show?
This morning we had like probably 8 people, maybe 9. Now it's down to 2.
Yeah,
we'll probably
I'll take in.
needed to engage
Figure out how to
that.
make that presentation.
Then again, maybe they only had an hour or so.
That's true.
After it's going on YouTube right now, but so it's a little bit easier to watch.
Again, that priority. Anything else?
All right, you can be moving on to your last question. You can be moving on to your last question. Is there a capital project that we've overlooked? You heard a pretty exhaustive list, but
We all know.
All right, sir, project, guys,
I think the committee and architect did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I'll make sure, just so you know, Donnie, I'll make sure that you get a digital copy of the packet so you can look through it. I'm pretty sure it's all things you have seen at some point along the way. This has been, as you well know, it's been a long process. Just getting to this point.
I thank you.
And I had to get a camera off and mute myself and then back in. Thanks for checking.
Right, absolutely. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
One more minute to finish everything. You need to go back to the other two questions. We got one more minute. They still watching with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the Spanish school?
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Let's
Let's
regather
gather
together
here.
I
I want to hear from you. So
what
what I'd like to do is let's go to this table right back here. Would you just share with us from question number one, what excites you about what you heard?
What excited our table was that the insurance check for the roof.
Show me
Show
the
me the
money.
money.
Show me
Show
the
me the
money.
Number two, I was excited to hear that there's architectural plans done. That is been taken care of. We also said we're excited that there is, quote, some money there in the capital account.
Okay.
Number four, that there is actually a plan to bring the facility back up to where it should be, that there is a plan in process. And number five, we were pleased to hear that the walkthrough has already been done.
Okay.
Good.
Let's go to this table. Any additional questions on what they said? Okay, that it?
Oh, wait, no. Other churches have raised the funds and that's encouraged.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay, good. How about this table? Any additional questions?
I guess similar to that others have done it and have succeeded, and that we've already made some headway.
All right.
All right. How about the pastor's table? Any additional questions?
I feel like we're a plant here.
I think the only differing one was that by being fully accessible, we're contributing to justice and equity issues in our community.
Okay.
Okay.
And how
How
about
about
this
this
table?
table? Any additional questions?
Exciting was leaving a legacy to the next generation, and also being able to sit here and having everything completed and not having ongoing building issues week after week. So being at the end point and having an updated facility for us and other groups to use.
Giving
Thanks
thanks
already.
Living in the future.
I like that.
Let's
Let's
just stay with your
table,
table,
but I want to go to question number three.
And
And that is, were there any projects we missed?
So
So question number 3, any projects you think we missed?
Are there,
You know, we need to add to it. Whatever suggestion you have, this is what we're looking for. How about you start yours?
Yeah, definitely. Having a Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks in the restroom. Is the organ restoration repair included? ADA issues? And we're not sure if anything's been overlooked because not everybody has seen the entire list.
All right.
Once we see the list, then we'll have a better.
Gotcha.
Gotcha, okay.
How
How about this table?
Any
Any
additions?
additions?
It could be already on here, but rumors of needing to connect the plumbing big project to the street. I'm assuming that's somewhere in here maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
At least
We
add
had
it.
it, so,
And then we didn't see, although it may have already been investigated, improvements to the parking lot.
Okay,
okay.
okay.
Okay, how about this table?
Sewer was ours.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, the parking lot, and then just thoughts about the usage, I mean, we're working on the building itself, but the outside area and usage of that as a space.
okay.
How
How about
this?
this table?
There is a suggestion for a playset or fenced-in playground that is safe. That came from the-
Okay.
Okay,
So
so let's stay with your table,
and
and let's go to the second question, which was what questions
do
do we need to answer moving forward? What were your answers?
I will not read the playset question that was also on this one.
Right?
What does doing this now allow us to do in the future?
Okay,
Okay,
good.
good.
How
How about this table? Any additional questions?
Just one big how are we gonna do this? And two, they were wondering if the tasks have been prioritized, and I think I've had some time to read this over, and I think that has happened, so I think once people take a look at things.
Okay,
Okay,
And to just, as we move through this, to think in a forward direction about how we make the renovation and remodel easiest to maintain for future generations.
okay.
okay.
This
This
table,
table, any additional questions?
Is there a timeline for completion, and will there be a committee other than the resource committee that will be established to lead the project?
All
All
right.
right,
How
how
about
about
this
this
table?
table?
We're the money table.
Okay,
Okay,
We do have an older community. Where do we think we're gonna get the money?
okay.
okay,
And again, the priority pieces, how do we determine what takes priority? And the third commentary for us is balcony would be nice, but really, that can probably hold.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
give you a little bit of humor
Okay.
when
when I'm working with
with
churches that are very, very young,
And there
and there are
are some.
some,
They
they always say, we're so young, and we don't have any old people, where are we gonna get the money?
It's
It's always an amazing
question.
question.
All
All
right.
right,
We had a lot of the same things, money, prioritizing. We also had, that's a big number. We also had a couple, maybe kind of thinking ahead, well, outside groups using the facility, be asked to contribute. Can we reach out to the community and businesses for contributions?
Okay,
okay,
so
so,
Pastor,
Pastor, why don't you come, and let's do this.
I'd
I'd like to spend just a few minutes maybe answering some of these questions.
We
We can't answer them all because we're trying to get you out at an appropriate time, but we want to make sure that some of these questions can be answered. Eventually, all of these questions will be answered.
Okay,
Eventually.
And
And there will be more questions which will come as we move forward.
So
So I want you to hear loud and clear
that
that we're going to answer any and every question which may come. But what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to ask each table to come up with their top three questions.
And
And then we're going to answer one of them per table.
We're
We're going to answer one per table. So
I'm
I'm
going to give you a couple of minutes. How
How do we get young people to give, right? Because we old folks don't want to give.
I mean, the only question that really needs to be asked is, where are we gonna get the money, and how are we gonna use
Any questions from them?
No, actually, so Donna asked a question.
All right, here we go. We're going to start
Make
the
the money
money
table.
table.
Show me
Show me the money.
Show me the money. So,
You have to understand that I do this, I mean,
I-
I go to motel and Cooper's down, and it's the same thing over and over again.
well,
They warned us,
when
when they saw all of you seated together, someone came over and warned me about that.
So it's
So
all
it's all
good.
good.
Say, where's the money going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
they
they
I
told me,
ask George that all the time.
anyway, let's hear your question.
You want
That
to?
is our most important, because that is a question, but it's, how do we pick the most high priority item on the list? How and who,
Okay?
Pastor's
Pastor's
gonna
gonna
answer.
answer that.
besides the resource people? Yeah, besides the resource people.
So I
So I
think,
think,
there's a,
I don't know that this answer is going to be as detailed as you want, so I'll just preface it by saying that.
I
I think in weighing the priorities of the projects, there are two key things to think about. One, some things cannot wait. The trim on the building is falling off. It's going to take one strong wind and some of the ornate features of the building are going to collapse. So that's part. That's just, and I'm not exaggerating. For those that were on the walkthrough, you will remember Paul going to the front, molding around the stained glass window, and he took and pulled it away, and everybody's heart stopped. Okay, so that I think is one way we'll prioritize. Some things cannot wait. The second priority thing, I think, is for us to think about how the upgrades we do this comes to a question that my plant table asked. I think the second kind of way we prioritize is to say, what projects can we do that will increase the ability for the community to be able to use our space? That not only gets more people traffic through the building, but also means that our building becomes a bigger revenue stream for the church than it has been in the past.
Right. Very good. All right, let's go to this table. What question did you come up with?
I think we kind of added this one in on.
That's
That's
okay.
You
okay.
know, the issues that we all know that cost increase over the years. So this number may be 1,500,000 now, but in 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 years from now, it can be $7, $8, $9 million.
That's very
That's very
true.
true.
That's the only. Now, if we could do all this right now with $1 million, we'd be better off now, because that's the reason the church is in this situation. It's not the only church.
Right.
That's the reason the church is, because if things are put off until they have to be done.
Okay.
And then 20 years ago, this would have cost $300,000. 20 years later, it's $1.5 million. 5, 7 years on down the road, it's going to be 4 or 5 million.
Who knows? That's more of a statement, but it's a good statement.
I'll answer that question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality.
That's
That's
reality.
reality.
How
How about this table?
We're just gonna go back to the money. Our question was, where are we gonna get the money?
It's a great
Great
question.
question.
And
And it's going to be a comprehensive answer in the sense that we start with you, each of you. One of the prayers that we will all be saying together is, God, what is it you want to do through me?
There's
There's
one thing four of us will agree on,
it's what the fifth one should give.
Particularly the money thing. But
We all have to say, God, what is it you want to do through me? So it's going to start with us. You have someone already looking into grants, so that's a potential. Someone mentioned about businesses. Can we do that? That's certainly something we can consider. There's numerous streams that we have to think about and then work toward making that happen. But it's going to start with each of you. And we may do different layers. Layer number one would be the church campaign. Layer two, you look at grants. Layer three, what are some other options? Because I do know this in my experience, and I've been doing this 30 years, is that number one, businesses in the community will not support you unless they know what you've done. So that's going to be typically the first question they ask, and how much has the church raised? Also, the other challenge that businesses have is when they look at how many churches are in the community, and if they give to Franklin United Methodist, then pretty wise unless they are members of this church to give to all of the churches in the community. So that becomes a challenge from their perspective. But from my own leadership, we'll reach our arms out as wide as possible, as long as we have the help to do it. Because this is going to take not only some financial investment on each of your parts, but some time investment to make this happen. This building, to me, I'm new, but it feels worth it. It's a historical place, and it's got such beautiful bones, at least as I walk into it. So that's my answer. I'm going to try to stick to it. How about the plant table? Any questions?
I think the other one's been covered unless you can answer the playset question.
I'll think about it.
How about this table?
We had, where's the money coming from, prioritizing, and will we have a separate capital campaign committee?
Okay, that last one, I'm probably going to say yes, but I don't necessarily know what's in place now. But one of the things we will do, should this study say we're moving forward, remember, we're in a study phase, and we can pause and say, not going to do a thing. You have that option. Is that we would be talking about what does the leadership campaign look like for a capital campaign. All right? Take a deep breath on your table. There is a chart that looks like this. And let me just share with you that from a theological perspective, I believe that giving is what God wants for us, not from us. And that I believe our need to give as a people of faith is greater than our church's need to receive. Because I think it's about me when it comes to giving. That may be some new philosophy for you to chew on, but certainly those are some theological bases in which I operate, because I think giving is something God has given me the joy of being a part of. And so, as we enter into a campaign, I'm often asked, what is it going to take? Well, all I did when I heard your number, $1,000,005, is took a chart. This is just a triangle, because at the top of the triangle means there's fewer gifts. But we're going to need some people to consider gifts in these ranges. So there's different ranges on this chart. These gifts are typically given over a 3-year period. Now, if you wish to say I can do better, but I can do it over 5 years, my answer is yes. All right. You'll be given the joy of saying this is how I'd like to do it. But usually, and typically what we're asking for, if we go forward with a capital campaign, that we'd be asking people to make a commitment for a gift over 3 years. So that's $10 a week over 3 years, that's $1,560. If it's, if you can give $1,000 a week, that's $156,000. I mean, RNS, somebody give, you have the choice, but you really are going to be given at least 3 years, and maybe more if you so desire. But the reason I give you this is that there is a survey that's going to be going to everyone. And there will be a question on that survey with What gift range might you consider? These are anonymous. If you give me your name, that's fine, but these are anonymous surveys. I'm looking for, is there any potential in the church, even from the older people? You know, is there any potential? And the survey numbers will match this range. Survey number will match this range. So I'm trying to educate you that when you get to that question, that means over 3 years, which of these ranges do you think you might be able to be in? And no one's holding you to it, because this is not a commitment, this is just a survey. Does that make sense? All right. Joy. So, to repeat the process, in about a week to 10 days, I'll be doing some interviews. If you wish to be interviewed, certainly let Pastor know. 30 minutes in length, be done by Zoom. Everything we say is confidential. Then coinciding with that will be a survey that will be sent to everyone. Once all of that is compiled and back in, I will be providing a report to your leadership saying, here's what I think. Here's what I think you could raise over a 3-year period. And then you'll have to determine from there how you will prioritize as you move forward. Make sense? Pastor? You can come and close us, and we have to start.
I just wanted to say something really quick. Tom made it clear, but I want to make it extra clear. The feasibility study that Tom will be doing, So even though you'll contact me if you would like an interview, all of the survey, all of the Zoom meetings, and those meetings can also happen via phone. Those meetings, those responses do not come through me or any other leader of the church. They all funnel directly to Tom, so it is 100% confidential in that way. I want to make sure that that's crystal clear. And so you can tell him, hey, I got $1.5 million, or you can tell him, I think this is a big bunch of hooey. Either way, it goes through him. And you're not going to hurt my feelings or any of the leaders' feelings in being honest. And in fact, we need you to be honest. So I just want that to be extremely clear. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Tom.
Great. Everybody clear about that? Thank you. What a wonderful morning. We've had just communing together, fellowshipping together, hearing from our pastor, thinking about the future, celebrating the past, eating together, laughing together. There's a card on your table, looks like this. Just a blank 3 to 5 card. Everyone will take one. And a pen. I want to spend just a few minutes in prayer, meditation, however you speak to God. If you want to pray around your table, that's perfectly fine. I'm not dictating any methodology, just want to spend a few minutes just meditating, praying. God, what do you want to do through me? On this card, I'd love for you just to write out how you felt this morning. If God spoke to you in any way, fine. Whatever feeling came across to you, what excited you again about this morning, is just something that impressed you this morning. Maybe God impressed you to pray for your church. Maybe God impressed you to be more generous. I have no idea. Just trying to give you some thoughts as to here's how I felt this morning. And then it's like you write a sentence on here. You don't have to put your name, but we want these to be given to the pastor at the end so you can leave them on the table. Because this is a time when we must not only hear from our leaders, but we must respond to what God has called us to do. This is God's church. And each of us responds to God differently as we hear from God differently. So just in this moment, for you, pray, meditate, and then just write on the card in one word, one short phrase. Here's what I'm sensing this morning. And then in just a few minutes, when the pastor says you're finished, he'll close us in the time of prayer.
You can most certainly keep writing, but let's pray. Gracious God, the assurance of our faith is that you are with us always. Through every journey, through every part of our lives. So help us, O God, to rest in the assurance that you're with us now. And you will walk side by side with us as we move not only out these doors, but into the future together. Help us to be the church you called us to be, that we might love you more fully, love our neighbors evermore each day, and reach out to a new generation for your son's sake. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all so much for your time. Please do leave your cards and the question sheets on your table. You can take the packets with you. I have extras if you need them. Could also use a few people to help me get cleaned up afterwards here. Thank you again so much. Have a great rest of your day and week.